I should probably try plugging the mic in. See? Thanks to my wonderful team of producers who always point that out, and that's why I leave that in there. Am I going to turn the sound on this week? As usual, I'm coming in hot, still plugging stuff in. So, like I was saying, welcome, Steve. Thanks for coming on board again, mate. Welcome, Luke. I've been watching a few of your videos lately. I used to be a bit of a fisherman myself, but it all got a bit messy for me, and cameras are much tidier. And there's less blood and guts and scales when you're fishing for photos. G'day, Nico. Welcome aboard, mate. Welcome aboard, bro. Thanks for coming on board. Mr. Pete Donaldson, sir, thank you for joining us again. Come hither with Heather. Hello. Thank you so much for coming on board. And I might add, I say this all the time, Heather, but your channel, yours and Drew's channel, and your live streams were one of the reasons why I decided to do this well and truly over a year ago. Now we're up to week 91. JK, welcome aboard. O'Malley Tours, welcome aboard. No, you didn't hear the door creaking because I turned the mic off this time to stop the door from creaking and see what happens. You know, there's all these buttons on an OBS screen, right? And there's just too many of them. Welcome aboard to the replayers and to the lurkers as well. Jack Wayman, who's always watching the stream on replay, welcome aboard to you, sir. Feel free to drop anything in the comments section below that you want to talk about, and I know you've been sending me stuff as well. Max Hobby, welcome aboard, sir, from the UK. So we have people from all over the place tonight, and we do this every Wednesday night. It's called Good Chats, and that's essentially what we do. We just have good chats. It started well over a year ago with me just experimenting with what was possible. 91 weeks later, I'm still forgetting to turn the mic on. So, we'll get there one day. And so, you're welcome, Heather. So, as usual, welcome aboard. What has everyone been up to this last week? Feel free to let us all know, and perhaps we can talk about it a little bit, or if you've got something that you'd like to bring up, please feel free. I got some mail this week, but it's probably not fan mail, but I will explain. I wanted to do a bit of an update on where I'm at with the Pitchy Richie railway line video. God, this thing's starting to get bigger than Ben Bloody Her, but it'll get there. I'm probably about 8 minutes into it now, and we've only just left Port Augusta. We're somewhere around Stirling North, so we're headed for a pretty long video with this one. Yes, Heather, I tried StreamYard as well, and I found it very restrictive, believe it or not. I kind of like the madness of OBS, where you do have to control a million little things, but at least you get control over those million little things. And yeah, even though it takes 91 weeks to work out, but hey, yeah, go ahead, reset all the scenes, and yeah, test run. Pretty much, I think we're on week 91 of my testing. And thank you to everyone who's been on board for most of that time. Indeed, some of you have been on board for all of that time, and have helped me learn so much about all of this. You also got to watch me age over the last 18 months. -2 out there in western New South Wales. It is bloody chilly at the moment. And yeah, it's not helping that I came down with a cold last Friday, so I had to carry that cold around the Flinders all weekend. Sorry to the people who had to sit next to me on the train, but it's one of those colds, you know, where you just snotty and you're coughing and you just, you know, your head's full, but it's not one that's stopped me from doing anything that I wanted to do, and sadly it hasn't stopped me from going to work either, which is a bit of a shame. Yes, that's right. I've grown from a boy into a man. I'm live on YouTube over the last, God, what is 91 weeks? We're getting pretty close to 2 years, actually more than 18 months now. And as if to prove my point, right, we've got this excellent community going on here. Some of you guys have been around for the whole time, and I've learned an awful lot about OBS and an awful lot about broadcasting and the practicalities of that. But I think I'm proving that theory. If you just keep working at it, you won't be rewarded for a very long time, but you will get a lot from it no matter what happens. And that's essentially what's happening here. Then I was going to play a photo gallery as usual. I've picked the Quorn historic photo gallery that I've got and I'm using in the Pitchy Richie video. And then we'll talk about Book of the Week. Got an interesting one lined up, and then we'll end there. So that should be around half an hour at the moment. See how we go. See how if I last the whole half hour with this cold. Yeah, no, I love Kane sent me one of his oldest videos. I chat to Kane a little bit, and yeah, I think it's pretty epic actually, being able to watch somebody's practice develop, you know, from their first videos to where they're at today, and watch them grow over time as well. And so yeah, incidentally as well, I did line up one of my first railway videos, which was the Roseworthy to Peterborough line. So we'll play that as well. So today I got my first ever real mail addressed to Mike at Outdoors Type. Right, and just in case you want to know where I live, there you go. You can feel free to send me some mail as well. As long as it's not ticking, I'll be right with that. So that's a pretty cool moment. This kind of came out of the blue. This bloke, Jeffrey, contacted me through the website, and he asked me if my videos were available on DVD or USB because he'd like to buy them. He was the last station master of Quorn Station up in the Flinders Ranges where the Pitchy Richie Railway is, and I had a good chat to him at one stage, and I said, look mate, just send me, and y'all can feel free to do this too because I'm going to be set up to do this after this, send me a USB and I can put all of the source videos that I have onto a USB for you so that you can play it on any of your TVs or whatever you like anytime, and I'm not going to charge you for it. I just want to make the money out of the advertisers on YouTube. As I've long said, that's kind of my theory. So, I'm going to open up. It's probably just a USB stick, but, you know. That was funny, yeah, sending me a stamped, self-addressed envelope And yeah, I will do the same for you guys as well. I'll pop it all onto a USB stick. So there we go. We have a stamped, self-addressed envelope and a USB stick. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to burn that on there. It would be really my pleasure to create this video collection, and that's what I did it for as well. And to be engaged by someone who is deeply involved in the railways, especially at a time when I'm spending a lot of time in Quorn, was a real privilege to me. And some of these things which are a real privilege are starting to emerge now. I'm starting to meet more people and learn new things that I didn't know before, and go a little bit deeper into the subject of railway history. Also, as well, my work with the Palmer Sculpture Biennial continues to grow. I've become, really like the YouTube video that I've created there has become a key part of their messaging to all of their volunteers and friends and members. And I was privileged again to provide some of that footage that I took to another photographer and videographer who's had a lot of experience, and he's putting together a taster of the Palmer Sculpture Biennial, a real professional video. So it was real privilege to be able to provide him with some of my footage as well, and I hope to be able to share that with all of you guys, because railway history is the main thing that I do, right? But it's not all. Okay, so yeah. I probably do need a holiday house in Quorn. Quorn is such a cool town. When I first started visiting Quorn, right, it was a bit Hicksville, but in the last few years, it's grown in popularity. I guess it's all the grey nomads and stuff, but they've upgraded a lot of things around Quorn, and some other restaurants like Flinders Gin or Scruffy Fellas, which is a cocktail bar in one of the old buildings there. And while I was up there this weekend, I stumbled across one of the best Japanese takeaway joints I've ever come across. Some of the nicest sushi and udon noodles and that kind of stuff. I know, JK, you saw my image there where I was standing there outside of Quorn Station eating udon noodles with chopsticks from the Japanese takeaway nearby. Was not expecting to find Japanese takeaway in Quorn, definitely not. And it's tucked away, it's off the main drag, which is why I didn't see it the first time. But if you find yourself up that way around Quorn or Pitchy or whatever, and do yourself a favour and plan to have lunch at Mitchie's or Mishy's Cafe. It's on the main street of Quorn, not on the railway street. Just come back south one street. There's some beautiful old buildings there, and a really amazing find in terms of food in the desert. Who'd have thought? Sushi in the desert, right? So there you go. There is, yeah. Yeah, back in 2000, I reckon I've been there a few times around about that time as well, and yeah, I have to agree with you. But it has come a long way. It reminds me in some ways of some of the hippie towns that I love so much, like Bellingen and Nimbin up in northern New South Wales. Just a really eclectic, really easygoing kind of vibe, a really progressive, kind of interesting, cool kind of vibe. And it's really interesting that has kind of permeated into Quorn, of all places. But it is a great place because it's very remote, it's very quiet, but at the same time, 25 minutes down the road, you've got Port Augusta. So you've got all the services and all the stores that you need down there. So definitely a place to be. There is so much rail history still out there, JK. And I think one of the revolutionary things about YouTube and what some of you all do when you're creating videos or stories or whatever for YouTube, people want to see your or mine or your angle on the world, your viewpoint, because we can all find dry information or commercialized presentations, but what we want to see is, individual, authentic presentations and reinterpretations and remediations of different subjects. And so the way I look at, the Pitchy Ritchie Railway will be different to, what Kane might put together for the Pitchy Ritchie Railway, or what the Pitchy Ritchie Railway might put together. And I think all of those different interpretations can kind of weave together and give us a richer picture. That's okay, no worries. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you're not trying to watch this while you're driving or nothing, but no, it's always a pleasure to have you and Drew on board. Heather, thank you for coming. Yeah, I will head up to Quorn again, but I think I'm done for the video. I know I did say I wanted to go maybe catch the coffee pot, but I did get some footage of the coffee pot under steam in the yard at Quorn there, and also got some sneaky footage of it going back into the workshops as well. And I'm just at the point now where I've done like 5 trips up to the Pitchy Ritchie, and I'm a bit done with it at this point in time. So I think I'm going to be able to kind of adapt things in there as well to make it what it is. And like I said, I'm 8 minutes in, and we're only just left Stirling North, and there's a lot of story to tell. I now have decided as well how I'm going to tell that story as well. Like, I'll set up the history, and then essentially we'll follow the line by drone from ground camera and from on the train. We'll follow that Afghan Express from Port Augusta, and we'll talk about what's going on there, and then we'll essentially catch the train, and as we make our way up to Quorn through Woolshed Flat, we'll talk about each of the places and look at some more footage as well. Set to music, as always, because that's kind of my signature thing. Music is one of the overriding senses. Sound is one of the overriding senses, and music plays a big part in setting the scene and creating a mood. And you may have seen how I try to play with emotions or evoke emotions by using different kinds of music in different kinds of ways as well. So I'm going to do it in one long video. Similar, I've found that the longer form videos I think offer better value and attract more, and speaking in a purely retail sense, they attract more views and a lot more watch hours if they're engaging long form videos. And so that's why I put so much work into it. You can make a long video that just turns people off after a couple of minutes, and it's a different thing altogether. And I don't necessarily know how successful I am, because I'm obviously not a huge 1 million plus YouTube channel, but yeah, those longer form videos have definitely, I think, provided the best value to people who watch my channel or who are new to my channel. They've definitely attracted the most subscribers, and I kind of segue that into, I think, maybe the video that I wanted to play. So let's see if I can get this right. All right, I'm going to be in Share Chrome, and we're going to bring up the old Roseworthy to Peterborough railway line video that I did 2 years ago. And similarly to the Flinders video, this one took 3 trips over 4 months, maybe 4 trips, I think, over 4 months. And yet somehow I only ended up with a 2-minute and 55-second video. If I was to redo this video now, it would definitely be a 25-minute to half an hour job. But yeah, let's transition that over. Let's turn the sound on, see if the sound's working, and then I'll press play. Black screen, sorry. There we go, it's back again. I don't know what I did there. I've decided to go a little more all in on the historic shots and the then and now shots with this video that I'm doing now for the Pitchy Ritchie and Port Augusta and the Flinders Ranges, which is why it's going to take quite some time to produce. Hours and hours and hours of scouring through and scouring back through, and also now that I'm creating such a long video, I've got to be really careful to make sure that I get everything I want into the early sections of the video before I get too far into it, because it can get really difficult, especially when you're trying to essentially time it to a music soundtrack or something. It gets really difficult to insert things back into the beginning later on. Some of those photos that I've got include some of these photos from the National Railway Museum, State Library, Lionel Noble, Western Langford, and they're from Quorn. This is the coffee pot when it was originally in use. A really quirky small engine that was used between Quorn and Hawker, and incidentally was used to ferry sporting teams around, and chartered for some of the sporting teams in the region as well. Probably didn't make it down as far as Farrell Flat though, but though that's great. Farrell Flat is a really out of the way place. So you're kind of on your way to nowhere when you're out at Farrell Flat and Mintaro. Mintaro is a nice place. But Marilden Station, that's a beautiful station out in the middle of nowhere. I really enjoyed that drive. And yeah, this is such a cool little engine. Now, what do I do now to make this go? That's right, the bloody hotkeys don't work for my slideshow, do they? There we go. You should have seen the crowd at Quorn Station on Sunday for the presentations and the centenary 50 year reenactment train. Huge crowds. Quorn was really back to its heyday. You could barely get a park in the main street. This photo indicates there was a bit more of an apron there at one point, whereas it's all hard packed dirt. There it is again. A bit of hard packed dirt again, but that's hasn't changed much since then, I'll tell you that much. Postcard from back in the day. Do you have a... Yes, it was, and I've got some great close-ups of the plates on the coffee pot. Thanks, Max. Built in Birmingham, yeah, and I hope to be able to reflect that in the video as well. You've got a coffee pot in the train collection. That's really cool, man. Send me an image. I'd love to show that. Excuse me. I'd love to show that as well. Please excuse my coughing and sneezing. It's this damn cold. This is one of the images that I hope to... This is the original Quorn Station, by the way, too, which was much closer to the railway tracks. Yeah, right. You can still get vapes if you need them, man, that's for sure. And there's a strange irony going on in Adelaide at the moment. Just at the same time they're banning vape shops, all of these illegal tobacco shops are just popping up left, right, and centre. It's absolutely ridiculous, but that's quite aside from the topic. So this is the original Quorn Station. Oh, look, there's another same image, but just not as good. Same image again, but probably from a different source. So that's the same image from three different sources in three different resolutions. Now there you go. Now there's a photo of Quorn busy. There's obviously lots of people there for another reenactment or a royal train or something like that. This has got the weird circular thing on it. I wish people wouldn't do that and just show me the whole picture. So that would be something that I might be able to mix in as well. Looking at the crowds across the years. From the other direction, there's the Brill rail car. I've got some footage of that on the move, not out on the line, but in the Quorn Station yard. Yeah, I'm not sure how many there were. Max will probably know how many there were, but there was, two. One was used down in the southeast, and the other one was used on the Flinders lines from Quorn, based in Quorn. And I think it went to become, it was essentially scrapped and left to rust when the rail moved out of Quorn for the first time. And I think they dragged it back out of a park or something like that, like some trains that they have restored, which were play equipment in parks. And here's the original photo of Quorn in 1880, just a year after the railway line made it to Quorn in 1879. So in my collection, at least anyway, this is the earliest known image of the Quorn railway station and the precinct around there. Taken, nearly 145 years ago now. Yeah, that's it, Max. Went to Alice Springs as an exhibit. Yeah, that's the one. There's that photo again. Oh, and here's a photo of a troop train. But this is a photo of a troop train, if I remember correctly. This is at Oodnadatta or Alice Springs. But it was evocative of the kind of trains that went through Quorn, sometimes up to 47 trains a day, carrying troops and supplies north to Oodnadatta, from which they'd track across land to Darwin during World War II. So that was another very, very busy time for Quorn. All right, so we are going to go back to Ditman. And so I want to talk quickly about the book of the week. Now, the problem is that with my cold and everything, and I just wanted to get into making this video as well, I haven't had much time to read, it's a big book, Into the Pass, history of, maybe I should move it over here, a history of the Pitchie Ritchie Railway, celebrating 50 years of preservation, and it's edited by Rodney Barrington. So I met this guy at the station on Sunday, and he very kindly signed the book as well. But they have really updated the older book that they did, which I'm about to show you in a minute. They've updated the design, they've updated the images, they've updated the paper stock, they've updated the visual design of the whole thing as well. This looks like an amazing reference. I have already learned a lot because all the images have their captions as well and footnotes, so you know where to find the images if you can find the images. And he's already given me some great suggestions for images that I hadn't found through my research that I could put into my video as well, particularly with historical archives. Sometimes when you search for, say for example, Port Augusta Railway or Port Augusta train, it will only come up with so much, but what you might miss is sometimes there's an aerial view of a factory in Port Augusta, and it'll be under Port Augusta factory search term or something like that, and it will actually have a lot of detail, a lot more detail on some of the railway lines and infrastructure that I'm actually looking for. And so certainly book research, always do book research, because you will learn things that you do not learn on the internet. So I will finish reading this book before I finish the video, just to satisfy myself that, you know, I'm not missing anything major. Perhaps it might add something more, but the interesting thing was that this is, if you can read that as well, the first 50 years of the Pitchie Ritchie Railway. I think I showed you this one over the last couple of weeks. Compiled by Jack Babbage and Rodney Barrington, released in 1980. And then all of these years later, 44 years later, Rodney Barrington's back at it again with celebrating 50 years of preservation with everything updated, and I think that's just so awesome. G'day Andy, welcome aboard. It's been a busy week, and also I've got a cold, so you know what, it's 31st of July. I just really like to put July and the depths of winter behind me now, because I don't think there's been many days of July when I haven't been suffering from one kind of illness or another. So July can get effed. Yeah, it's a bit like the Steam Ranger video, Andy. I put a lot of effort. I put more effort into this video than some others, because I know that there's a lot of people who are very passionate about this subject. So I want to make sure that I'm doing the best I can, and it's never going to be expert level, because I'm not an expert. I might be by the time I'm finished in 10 years time or whatever, but I'm not an expert now. I really do learn from and stand on the shoulders of some of these giants, and some of them may be interested in seeing it, so I feel a little bit more pressure to do something that's worthwhile, and add my own spin to it, which is the music and the then and now shots and the drones and the way I use gimbal cameras, which is different to the way other people use gimbal cameras. A lot of the ballast would have come from quarries nearby as well, so there's a lot of work that goes into building railways. So quarrying stone and crushing stone would have been just a part of it. And like Max said too, some of the lightly laid lines, some of the mallee lines as well, were originally just laid straight onto the ground or onto the formation of the railway with no ballast at all, and had really low track speeds, and obviously really never really lasted very long. In Loxton, on the main road through Loxton, about halfway through, as you head out northeast, of Loxton towards Renmark, you'll see on the where there used to be a railway crossing there's a display there with all the different kinds of track as it was originally laid and as it was upgraded over the years along those lines. And it starts with steel sleepered tracks just laid on the ground, and then goes up to the the standard gauge ballasted lines that we have today. So that Loxton display is really, really interesting. There is a very short scene on the Mallee Lines video that I did, where I have a look at that section. I probably should have spent more time, but again, as I move on, I learn a little bit more. My set of resources grows, and set of contacts and information grows, and my knowledge of what perhaps people would like to see and what I would like to see more of grows as well, which is another reason why 2 years on now I'm putting so much effort into this Pitchy Richie video, because there's just a lot of things going on these days that I want to cover. G'day Canes Trains, welcome aboard. The story that I picked up from Railways in the Adelaide Hills by Roger Salas was that all of the railway lines in South Australia was originally built with loans from the Crown, and so those loans had to be repaid, and quite often they weren't repaid because these lines never made any money, and they were built quite often to attract settlers. So they weren't built to places that there were any people. It was built out to places where there were no people to encourage settlement and open up land for agriculture. And so they were built as cheaply as they possibly could be, which led us to the situation that we have. Where we had a whole lot of narrow gauge, cheaply built narrow gauge lines. And when the time came to upgrade them, they just simply, things had changed, and there simply just wasn't enough money to upgrade these lines to the broad or the standard gauge, which is why the narrow gauge lines were left to rot effectively. Great! So you've been out there, and you know what I mean. There's surprisingly still quite a bit of railway infrastructure out there at Loxton. It's almost like there's this forlorn hope that maybe one day the railway will go back through to there. But again, that once the road traffic has taken over, it's difficult to imagine rail ever going back in, which is the great tragedy of losing rail in the first place, because it's like prices, once they go up they never come down, and once your rail shut down it's pretty rare that it would come back again. Although I know Max was telling me a story about he had been part recently of getting a passenger service reinstated on a line which had been missing a passenger service for a long time, and I think if I remember correctly that had been reduced to an old rundown freight line, but this was revitalised. This is in the UK, of course, so this is a great story. And that's I don't necessarily see that happening around Australia, because again, we're all kind of congregating into the major cities, and there's just not enough people moving out there to the country. There's not even enough houses being built anywhere in Australia, let alone in the country. Yeah, and that's a fair point too. Yeah, termites, vandals, and now that I'm talking about this, this is what makes the Pitchy Ritchie Railway Preservation Society such an epic story. Is the cost and the amount of work and the amount of time that's been put in to rehabilitate that railway from where it was is just one example, I guess, of how something can be returned from the brink, but an awful lot of work and time goes into it. Yeah, the line back to this spot, there's places on that line that go back to Tail and Bend. They almost look new. Like, I don't know, the weed killer's still working or something like that. Same on the Mount Gambier lines. There's some areas there that seem like they were just laid, 10 years ago. G'day, Zavs Trains. How you going? Quorn's definitely a town I would move to, because like I was saying before, if you need your fix of, I don't know, Woolworths or Coles, or, want to go to a pub, no, you've got pubs in Quorn, or you want fast food like KFC or McDonald's or whatever. Port Augusta's only 25 minutes away, so it's got all those services. But if you go up to Quorn, it's so quiet at night up there, and when the sky is clear, it's one of those places that you get that real outback sky, and you can see the whole wheel of stars over you. And that moment that I had on my birthday earlier this month, where I essentially had the Quorn Silo art display all to myself. Everyone had gone home. It was cold. It was a clear night, and you had this display just running essentially just for me on the silos there. And then you had that great wheel of the Milky Way over the top as well. Kane knows sort of that feeling of being out in Quorn and the rail yards there and all the stars is just amazing. And so, I did go to Railfest, spent a couple of nights staying in Wilmington. Shout out to beautiful Valley Caravan Park at Wilmington. Really cheap accommodation. Really, the place is a bit run down, but it's really nice. The guy, Stefan, the guy there, I've stayed there a few times now. It's really clean. It's really comfortable. Very dated, but it's cheap. Like, I only paid $165 for 2 nights accommodation there, and I would have been paying that more than that for 1 night in Quorn, I reckon. So, yeah, it wasn't too bad. And Wilmington's another one of those very, very quiet places, and it's just 25 minutes down the road from Quorn. So definitely consider staying there. I think I've said this before. You might get a bit sick of it. Definitely consider staying there if you're going up to Quorn, because it's much cheaper. The old Melrose line, yeah. So I did check out. So that one goes to Wilmington. So I did the Gladstone to Wilmington railway line last year, and that was the first time that I stayed at this caravan park at Wilmington. I will get up there again soon, because this caravan park is essentially at the gateway to Alligator Gorge and the Mount Remarkable National Park, and that's something that I definitely want to explore. You'd see the Pinaroo line a fair bit, and that was a great explore. And I did that hopefully because over the years it will deteriorate. I missed so many things over the years, like the old bridge just out of Kapunda on the Kapunda, the Morgan line there. That got filled in a couple of years, or about a year after I started sort of awakening to all the history of stuff, and I missed filming that one. And that's now all filled in and gone. And so there's no more chances to film that. So, hopefully I can still capture what I can capture while it's still there. Welcome to the Philippines. Hello, Jerry Solo. I'm sorry if I've pronounced it wrong, but I probably got it right one of the ways. A bit like that. It certainly hasn't been dry up in Quorn for the last few weekends, Andy. It's been really bloody wet and muddy up there for the last few weekends. They've had now 4 good seasons, and again, the Flinders is not generally a place where there's flowing waterfalls all the time, but there's a lot of water there. And they've had some excellent seasons. You can see that they're cropping in places that they don't always crop in. And so that was one of the reasons why the railway line went up through Hawker and didn't sort of go straight up through the desert where it goes through now, was because they were opening up that area for agriculture in some really good years. And then after that, the region turned to what it normally is, which is essentially in drought most of the time, and it went into a hell drought for a good decade or so, and everybody scarpered out of there pretty quick after that. A lot of dreams broken, that's for sure. And so, yeah, there will be runs of good years where you can think that it's actually pretty temperate up there, but the reality is most of the time, yeah, it is very dry. Yeah, more rain than the southeast at the moment. Yeah, absolutely. Nearly got bogged up there, on my birthday weekend as well. We went down a dirt track at night time, and I kind of missed the boggy bit, but thank goodness for four-wheel drive. Yeah, it's a beautiful area up there in the Flinders. So stick around and subscribe to my channel, Gary Solo, because I'm in the process of making a video around the old rail history of the line between Port Augusta, on the edge of the desert, up to Quorn, in what is really, I think, the heart of the Flinders Ranges, and a bit more around there. Such a beautiful, beautiful area. So, I can't believe it with this cold. And you can probably tell I'm running out of breath, and I'm trying really hard not to sniff. So we're going to call it and do the that's all, folks, now, because I am running out of voice. So we do this every week at 8:15 p.m. every Wednesday night, so please feel free to join us. You don't need to keep checking on my channel to see when I'm going to do a live stream. You don't need notifications. I'm going to run out of batteries in a minute, so I'm going to have to plug this in. You don't even have to be here at 8:15 p.m. every Wednesday, because we'll be doing it again the following Wednesday. That's what we do here on Good Chats. So, thanks to everybody who came on board and keeps the stream going. This is not a one man thing here. This is we learn and chat amongst ourselves for everything here. Yeah, that's right, Max. That was one of the reasons that it closed. Yeah. We keep learning from each other. So hopefully I don't miss Kingsley. You've been lurking. Welcome aboard. And that's all, folks. So Max Hobby, Kingsley Purvis, JK, Andy Munro, thanks for coming on board, mate. Always a pleasure. Go check out Former Footy Grounds, Andy Munro, on Facebook. Seriously. Love your passion, man, and I see that you've been making lists as well lately as well. Love the planning and the passion. Zav's Rails, thank you for coming on board. Who else have we had on board tonight? Kane's Trains dropped in. Man, go check out Kane's Trains Facebook page and his YouTube channel. Got some amazing photos up there of night shots taken at Quorn Railway Yard. Kane's Trains on Facebook. O'Malley Tours 34 around the grounds. Go check out O'Malley's channel on YouTube as well. And he's out there on Facebook too. And I'm just trying to think, Around the Grounds with Thurl, I think it is. If you want to just let everybody know, or just chuck the name of it in there. Also, excellent football history and cultural history. Who else have we had? Pete Donaldson, Re-L, bro, thank you for coming on board. Luke's Fishing in the NT, another good YouTube channel. Go check it out. He's got a great audience as well that loves to check out the unique fishing opportunities, I will say, in the Northern Territory. Come hither with Heather. Always a pleasure to have one of the original live stream antagonists on board. Steve Klink and Nico, thanks for coming on board as well. And also going out to John O'Donnell from Owen there, the inspiration behind my Owen video. If you're lurking out there as well, give us a big thumbs up, mate. Thank you, everybody, for your support through this difficult sniffling time. It's been a hell of a month this July. Been through a few illnesses, been through it with all of y'all as well. And thank you so much for just being there and coming back every week as well. So this has been Good Chats. You know we'll be doing it again next Wednesday night at 8:15 p.m. We'll go for about half an hour to 45 minutes. And sometimes it might actually even be good. So until next week, peace.